Hello, my friend. Today's topic is to sizzle. So what does sizzle mean to a quilter? I'm Pat Sloan. This is my daily video. Let's take a look at irons. They get hot, but they also have places that can get dirty. Not just the sole plate, but there's other little crevices that stuff, dust collects in depending on how your iron is manufactured. So I want to show you my Aliso iron. It is turned off. Even though the feet are going in and out, it's still off. So down in here, and I'm going to show you this. I think I can get it to come in a little closer. Down in this area where the feet come in and out, there is, okay, there we go. There is a little dust and dirt, and you also have on this iron a ridge, this in here, and there is dust and dirt in there. My iron is turned off, even though the iron is on, but I have it on off mode. So here you go. There you go. There's some dust that collected. There you can see it. Whoops. There we go. So that's in here. So you could take something and blow out in there, or just take a little pin and get that dust out, because what happens is you'll find the dust in there will all of a sudden lump out onto your work, and you might actually press it because you are working. So all of a sudden a lump of dust comes right in front of you. The other thing is to look at the sole plate of your iron and to look at your ironing board. How is that ironing board? Have you, the ironing board cover, have you changed it lately? We did this a few months ago, and at that time some of you might have not been able to take a look at it or do anything about it if it was grungy. But the ironing boards get grungy for, gosh, I don't know why. They just do. I mean, some of us use starches and other things on it, but they just seem to get dirty. So you can try first like putting in the wash, and I've used like some of those, shout or whatever on the different spots and soak it, and they can usually last a while. But if I get into kind of a big stain on it, they tend to not come out after a while. But clean your iron, clean your ironing board. That's our sizzle for today. I promised you a tally of my UFOs for February. We did a 2-week UFO push, and that wasn't all day, every day for 2 weeks, because if it had been, I probably would have been finished with everything. It was, what could I do in the amount of time I had allocated, which was about an hour to an hour and a half for 2 weeks on my UFOs. And so I did a list, which you can find at my calendar page from I Love to Make Quilts. You go to the project page for the calendar, and you could download one of these and use it for anything. So what did I have? I have the elephants, and the elephants were done. Now, they weren't necessarily a UFO, but I put them on the list because I knew that I needed to push to finish it rather than sort of just put it off and let it ride to another day. But it didn't. It's done. Finished the traffic jam, which one of my traffic jams that I had done. I've done several traffic jams, and I'm so excited about that one. I had the stay-at-home quilt, which I had to have done before March 1st, even though in my head it was March 1st, but we actually made it in April of 2020. So that one's done. Then the Grandma's Kitchen, got that one done. Now I need to get a photo of that one and a few others, but it has been like for the last week, just either raining or it's too wet to go tromp out there. And so this week I see some sunshine. So I'll get some photos done and get my gallery page updated. Then the last two things that I had on the list, down at the bottom here, I partially got done. So I consider that a win. I told you when I first showed you this list that it was unlikely I would do all of these plus the bonus. There's actually one, the pillow shams, I didn't work on at all. And then the Florida quilt came back. That was the bonus. It came back, and I did a little bit of trimming on it, but not its final trimming. I just trimmed a big chunk off so it was a little easier to manage. So basically I got 4 fully done and 2 quilted. So let me show you the flower. Where have I got it? Yeah, so the flower, I did the wave on both of these, and the flower is totally done with the wave stitch. Ta-da! So let me just hold it up close, you can see the wave stitch. This is a stitch anybody can be successful with. So if you are looking for a way to quilt your own quilts without free motion quilting, but something a little bit different than a straight stitch, a little bit more forgiving. The wave stitch I think is very forgiving. Now this one, you can get a pattern for the flower middle. The outer border was just something I did what did I do that in January or December when I was just messing around trying to, I found that piece and I thought, I just liked it to be a little bigger. And so I did that then. And the links are below. The links are below and to get to that. The flowers were actually a part of the button club. Okay, so this is the other one I had. And if you remember when I first talked about this group of UFOs, I said I would leave the little table runner to the end because it was tiny and I could have, maybe if I only had a little bit of time left, then I might be able to get it finished. So I did the wave stitch. I did basically every juncture. So like this particular unit, you can see there's like a juncture here, a juncture there, and then between the blocks. So that's what I used. Let me step back so you can see it. So it needs some binding. I can't decide blue or green, blue or green. I'm leaning towards a green binding, but I have to test it out. So when I picked this up and I thought, how long? Like I said, I did the wave stitch from top to bottom. So I thought, like, how long will it take me to do this? This can't be that long. The shortest part of this entire process, the shortest part, is quilting it. It probably took less to quilt it than it did to spray baste it together. Cut the backing, cut the batting, and then spray baste it. It took probably longer than it did to quilt this. So I timed it because I like to time things. I want to know what's going on. So I did 4 to sort of, I did like one out here, 2, 3, 4. So I did 4 rows. It took 5 minutes. That's all, 5 minutes. So then I thought, okay, let's calculate what this will take. So between winding the bobbin, putting new thread on, because it had changed thread color, it took me 15 minutes to put new thread on, wind the bobbin, and quilt all of this. 15 minutes. That's like nothing. So I sat down and did it, and now the binding will take longer than probably 15 minutes because I have to make the binding and then put it on. But it probably won't take a whole lot longer than that. So I probably only have maybe 20 minutes more in that one and it's done. It'll take a little bit longer for the flower quilt because it's a bigger quilt. So all in all, that means by March 1st, I had 4 done and 2 almost done. So 6 in the 2-week period. So good. So give me your analysis. Tell me your recap down below of how you did. I'm really excited. I want to, a couple people have said, well, can we do the once a week we do this? Once a month rather we do this, a UFO push. Some people liked it that was a 1-week or 2-week format, but somebody suggested maybe as a 1-week format. And that might be good, or maybe it's just like a 4-day push, like 4 days. Okay, these 4 days, and then maybe if it's like 4 days, you can actually spend a little bit more than an hour on it. That's the part that for me, I would like to do the next time is spend, like maybe I can spend half a day, maybe I can spend 5 hours over on 2 different days to see how far I get. That would be nice because sometimes you lose your momentum a little bit when you have to when you only have an hour. It moves you forward, but it'd be nice if you could just sit there and just get it done. Like if I could have just put the binding on and had it finished now, the whole table runner would be done and I'd be showing it to you. But I only had 15 minutes because I had to get ready to film this because I actually was doing it right before I filmed this. So if you didn't get your calendar, go ahead to my I Love to Make Quilts website, and there's a calendar page that you'll see. You can download. And I want to show you that I've been keeping all the calendars with my notes on them. I don't know why. It just feels like I should do that. If you read my post yesterday, the pandemic for me started March 1st, 2020. That was how I've, viewed this whole thing starting. And so it's kind of like it's history. It's my history. It's our history as a community. And I thought, well, I want to keep this for right now. Who knows what I'll do with it, but I'm going to keep it. So we have our block a day of March Hope, and I feel I was back looking through pictures of March of last year, and was really felt hopeful. That was the word that was like, wow, there were flowers coming up in March of last year. The magnolia, my neighbor's magnolia was blooming. It's like, that's what is going to happen here in March. March is my area of the world in Northern Virginia. We start to bloom. We start to come alive in March. We get out of the doldrums of winter. So I'm so excited. I'm so ready for it. So I got my second block. This is the one I showed you for the audition. So I'm super excited to have that one. So together, here they are. And now I'll be making these and sewing them together. I don't know, I might make a row and then sew the whole row, just so in case I want to switch any around, or I might not. I might just go, whoop, let's just sew these babies together. I'm also keeping everything in the blue bin. So I've got some of them pre-cut, got some pre-cut and packaged up. And then I'm also keeping all the little scraps that are big enough that I might do for a little crumb block. So that is kind of neat. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but for right now I have a whole clip full. So maybe next time I sit down the machine, I'll run a few of those through. Now I did have a Q&A question I put out at the Facebook group for all of you to give me questions you have about storage, organization, tidying up. I want to know, like, you know, what kind of problems are you having, and what do you know, so I can like address those, so I can talk about that, because that is my gig. That's what I really like to talk about, is how to make things work for us in our environment and with what we have. So one question that came from Pat was, how do you I love how she says this. How do you stop saving scraps? How do you stop saving scraps? She goes, the material is taking over my house. So years ago, when I was teaching beginning quilters locally, when I first started out, I had a big bag of small pieces and I just threw stuff in there because I would take it to the class because they didn't have any fabric. And so, you know, but eventually I stopped teaching those classes, and the one day I found this big bag of basically trash, because it was fairly small pieces that I wasn't using. I found this in my closet, and I'm like, I am storing trash in my house. Why am I storing trash in my house? This is taking up valuable space. I have a small home. I don't have room for this, and I'm not using it, which is the number one thing. I was not using it. So if you are keeping things you are not using and don't ever intend to use, then find a new home for it. Like for me, throwing away scraps, this. I don't keep this. I've never kept this. I don't even keep this to give to anybody. But there are some of you who love to keep this. And there are, so a few people had suggestions, because there are organizations, animal shelters, not all, so you have to ask, not all, will accept dog beds or pet beds, where you take a pillowcase and you dump a bunch of these things in them, these little, you know, shreds, and then you do some stitching over top to sort of lock it down a little bit so they don't all fall in one, you know, lump. And then they will use them at the shelter. But not all shelters take these, so you need to ask. Now, I had to laugh at myself because I pulled that out of my trash can, but I also found these. Look, they are like barely slivers, and I know some of you probably keep those. It would never occur to me in a million years to keep those, but I know some of you do. The other thing is that one lady in Canada, who said this in Canada, Linda in Canada said that they have textile recycling. So I don't know if any of our communities here in the United States has textile recycling, or other countries, because of those of you in Australia, Holland, Germany, France that are listening, you know, Scotland, do you have textile recycling? Down in Costa Rica and Mexico, do you have textile recycling? You could take a look at that. Ask around to your local community. If you don't want to use it, but you think someone else might, put the call out through the local quilt guilds, local schools, do a little hunt and research, and hopefully you'll find somebody that is interested. Okay. You're going to take that Sizzle today and get your iron cleaned up, get your ironing board in shape, make your March Hope block a day. So we're doing one of these each day, same block. Download the pattern if you don't have it yet from the calendar page, or from the calendar page is the easiest. All right, my friend, links are below. I love you. Mwah. See you online.